and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavor show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a snapshot of domestic life at Bridge Farm. But it's a domestic life under immense overlapping pressure.
Oh, completely.
Our sources today are dialogue excerpts from a radio drama, a single high-tension day set in a cold January.
Right.
And it's all dealing with the aftermath of an incident that led to George's hospitalization.
And what's immediately striking, I think, is how the sources blend this profound emotional trauma with the utterly mundane.
Yes, definitely.
You have George recovering from a head injury, the shadow of prison time, this overwhelming exhaustion.
And layered right on top of that is the reality of a 15-year-old who thinks coats are optional.
Right. And a mother trying to make, what were they, huge, stodgy dumplings for dinner?
And a farm that needs saving. It's all happening at once.
Exactly.
That tension, the sublime and the ridiculous, you could say,
Yeah.
is really the emotional landscape we're exploring. So our mission in this deep dive is to isolate the structural stress points. We're looking for the practical demands the family is trying to maintain.
Like the garden plans, the staffing updates.
Exactly. And then the immediate emotional pressure points. Will's anxiety, Henry's defiance.
Which is just classic teenage stuff, but amplified.
Right. And crucially, the deeper unresolved grief that is, fueling this entire family crisis.
If you want a quick read on the emotional health of this family unit, you don't look at their confessions.
No.
You look at their to-do list.
I love that.
The way they manage or fail to manage the practical problems reveals exactly who is carrying what kind of psychological weight.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's start with the physical landscape of stress, the farm itself, and, of course, the constant friction of living with the teenager.
We see that generational clash immediately. I mean, 15-year-old Henry is operating on peak teenage autopilot.
Chuckles. Yes, he is.
When he's asked why he's not wearing a coat in January, mind you, he delivers that classic line.
Oh, I know this one.
The 15-year-olds not wear coats anymore.
A universal foundational truth of adolescence. It doesn't matter what else is going on.
Chaos could be reigning, but that rule stands.
It's a wonderful grounding detail.
Yeah.
And his communication is just as terse. It's all right, or just speak when his mother needs his attention.
You can almost feel the parental sigh through the script.
You really can.
But the conflict, it goes beyond just fashion and manners. It touches on the changing structure of school life.
Yeah, the homework.
When asked when he did his homework, he says, on the bus. And his explanation is, it's online, Mom. It's a thing now.
Which, of course, sparks the inevitable mockery about his mother attending school sometime in the 1800s.
Of course.
So while the adults are fighting, these huge emotional battles, Henry is dealing with the pressure of a digital education and just being misunderstood.
And at the same time, Bridge Farm is trying to stage its own comeback.
Right.
Exactly. We hear about the edible forest garden being revolutionized and expanded.
Which sounds so positive on the surface.
Overwhelmingly positive, but the history beneath it is terrible.
Yeah.
That whole area was neglected after a sewage leak.
Oh, that's right. It ruined Saren's section, and then the subsequent seeds just failed to take root. So this isn't just gardening, it's a metaphor for the family's recent history, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The farm area is a physical representation of neglect, of failed efforts, and past trauma.
And how are they tackling this failure? With an almost manic enthusiasm.
They're trying to overcompensate. They're launching this grand new project, planting a quince tree for Granny's birthday.
And it's meant to be the jewel in the crown of Bridge Farm's new garden extravaganza.
That phrase says it all. This isn't just a birthday gift, it's a powerful need for, performative renewal.
An attempt to bury the past failures under a massive, hopeful gesture.
Yes, a big, green, fruitful gesture.
I think that's a brilliant way to put it. They're using an agricultural revolution to paper over an emotional and structural crisis. And the very moment they start planning this renewal, the practical staff crisis rears its head.
And that just drags George's complicated past right back into the conversation.
Which brings us to the immediate and messy realities of running a farm while you're understaffed.
The problem is stated so simply: no staff.
And Henry, in his, typical straightforward teenage way, suggests the blindingly obvious solution.
Of course.
Why don't you hire George once he's out of the hospital?
And that suggestion immediately exposes the depth of the bad feelings.
Yeah.
Henry's mother just firmly rejects the idea. She cites the trouble George has caused in the past.
But, and this is really important, she adds this nuance almost immediately.
She does. She clarifies that even though they won't employ him, she draws this hard line on morality. She says no one deserves to be assaulted.
And she genuinely hopes the Grundys and Carters get the support they need.
It's such a delicate balancing act.
It is.
They're trying to hold a necessary professional boundary, not hiring someone with a troubled history who caused them harm, while still expressing this fundamental human compassion for him as a victim.
It really shows the emotional maturity of the adults here, trying to separate George's actions from the violence that was done to him.
Yes, and the concern isn't just abstract. When we zoom in on George himself, we get a real sense of his immediate miserable conditions through Amber's visit.
She is the voice of practical, grounding compassion here, isn't she?
Completely. She notes his dry skin because there is, and this is a quote, literally no air in that ward.
So she brings him moisturizer and earplugs to help him sleep.
These small details, they just underscored the difference between Will's catastrophic, fearful projections and the reality of George's current struggle.
Which isn't dying.
No, it's just being horribly uncomfortable.
That attention to physical comfort is such a critical anchor. It reminds you that while the big family unit is struggling with high-stakes drama, someone is still focused on the simple, practical acts of caregiving.
And we also get a necessary check-in on Kira, who ran away recently.
Right. She's withdrawn. She wants to be left alone.
Yeah, and that detail just reinforces that the entire household is struggling. But
Introducing the Archer's mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information, and to order your very own The Archer's mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
there's that promise she made to her father,
That she would talk if something was bothering her.
which is a tentative step, at least, toward rebuilding trust after that major breach.
So you've got people trying to fix the garden, fix their marriages, fix their careers, and fix their relationships with their kids.
It's everything at once.
But the core of the entire emotional storm is centered on Will. And that requires a deep dive into his personal crisis.
Absolutely. We move from practical stress to, frankly, psychological collapse.
Will is actively making himself ill.
The sources describe him sitting up at the hospital for 6 hours, running on adrenaline and surviving entirely on vending machine crisps.
And his family is genuinely worried he's going to end up in there himself.
They are.
His hypervigilance isn't just general worry, it's catastrophic thinking. And it becomes totally understandable when he confesses the source of his anxiety to Amber and Ed. This isn't about George the young man.
No, it's about Nick, his deceased wife and George's mother.
His current anxiety is a re-triggering of the most traumatic event of his life.
He feels he wasn't there for Nick when she died, even though Granddad was.
So he's taking that sense of failure, that moment when he couldn't protect her, and he's projecting it onto George's current vulnerability.
And his admission is just heartbreaking. I couldn't bear it if I lost George too.
The way his trauma manifests is profoundly sad. He fixates on the dangers of head injuries, specifically mentioning the risk of clots.
And he draws this tragic, deeply inaccurate parallel between George's symptom headache and how Nick's illness started.
Which was just a cold, a bit of flu.
That kind of comparison is trauma taking over logic. He's not assessing George's stable medical situation?
No, he's reliving the shock of Nick's rapid decline and finding danger in every benign detail.
But the sources are careful to provide the medical counterpoint.
Right. What is George's actual status?
The consultant says George is doing really well and his scans look good. He's just bored.
He's bored.
The medical evidence confirms Will is projecting his historical fear onto a perfectly stable, if inconvenient, present situation.
So Will's fight isn't with George's injury, it's with his own unprocessed grief.
Exactly.
And that guilt has led him to this profoundly sad, self-limiting philosophy. He's discussing grief, and he acknowledges that everyone says it gets slightly less unbearable.
But then he makes this extraordinary statement.
I don't want to be happy.
That line just stops the conversation cold.
It does.
He feels that his 11 brilliant years with Nick and having Poppy, Jake, and Mia, that's his lot in life.
He concludes. No point trying for more.
He has effectively decided that loyalty to his lost love requires him to cap his own potential for future joy.
I have to push back on that for a second. Is that truly devotion, or is it a form of self-punishment?
I think
Is he punishing himself for the perceived failure to save Nick?
it's likely both, and that's the tragedy of it. He's constructed a system where recovery feels like a betrayal.
His identity is now rooted in being the protector and the griever.
To pursue happiness would be to dilute the love he shared, at least in his mind.
His friends see this self-destruction happening, and Ed steps in with some much-needed blunt intervention.
He does. He suggests a drink. He challenges Will on whether driving a van and doing odd jobs is really enough for him.
And then he goes straight for the modern solution: online dating.
Ed says it's all online these days, trying to gently push Will back into the world.
But Will's reaction just highlights how deep that resistance runs.
He finds the mere thought of trying to talk to someone new unbearable.
His focus is so completely inward, wrapped up in past failures and present fears, that the idea of future connection it's just too vast and frightening.
That deep loyalty to Nick has become a psychological prison.
Exactly as you noted, it's the ultimate paradox of this dive. The family is fighting for George's release back into the world.
While Will is actively ensuring his own emotional confinement remains secure.
And as Will is stuck wrestling with his past, the rest of the family is dealing with Henry testing their trust in the present.
Which takes us into the dynamic of loyalty and truth in the younger generation.
Right.
The fallout of George's past actions and the family's protection instincts, they collide dramatically when they discover Henry has secretly visited George at the hospital.
And he brought Poppy and Kira with him, without telling his mother.
Which is a big deal.
A very big deal.
Yeah.
And the parents immediately fall back on the historical narrative.
They see George through the lens of all his bad choices. They say, trouble does have a habit of following that lad around.
Implying that George somehow orchestrated this latest dangerous situation involving Rob.
But Henry, whose perspective is grounded in their peer dynamic, offers this crucial counter-narrative.
He argues George was trying to help him at first.
Right, and that he actively tried to stop Rob once he realized how dangerous Rob actually was. It's the teenager defending his friend's intent.
Which is often more important than the outcome in teenage loyalty.
Always. And this confrontation, it escalates to a massive breakthrough moment.
When Dad pushes Henry, reminding him that George put him in a dangerous situation.
Henry snaps back with a painful reminder of his own.
So have you.
That is the nuclear option in a family argument.
Oh, absolutely. A direct, searing reference to Dad's past time in prison. It's an act of emotional warfare.
But it also forces a radical, positive shift in the father.
He doesn't get defensive. He immediately agrees. He says he should be more understanding, knowing firsthand what a challenge prison is.
And that moment of humility just validates Henry's perspective completely. It forces the conversation off the high ground and onto equal footing.
It creates an immediate, genuine connection. It replaces a lecture with shared experience.
The father recognizes that Henry is right. He can't preach about bad choices when his own path contains serious ones.
And that honesty ultimately informs the mother's approach to Henry's boundary pushing.
Despite her initial anger, she realizes she can't possibly control who a 15-year-old Henry talks to.
So the decision is no longer about George.
No, it's about Henry's maturity. It's a complete pivot from control to trust.
She decides that Henry is a sensible, intelligent young man, and she trusts him to tell them if he thinks he's made the wrong decision.
She's shifting the burden of responsibility onto him, which is the only real way to prepare him for adult life.
She realizes shielding him from complicated people is impossible.
But she can equip him with the confidence and the safety net to navigate that complexity.
And crucially, to come back and ask for help when he needs it.
It's a testament to the family's capacity for growth, even while dealing with the seismic stress of Will's grief.
So, after wading through this high-tension day at Bridge Farm, what are the core takeaways? So what does this all mean?
First, I think we established the constant friction between the immense emotional trauma and the everyday practical stress.
Right, the quince tree extravaganza versus the reality of illness and staff shortages.
The domestic and the traumatic are inseparable.
Second, we uncover the immense emotional burden and unresolved guilt driving Will's self-destructive behavior.
His panic over George is a direct manifestation of his failure to protect Nick,
leading him to willfully reject any possibility of his own future happiness.
And finally, we witness that tension between the parental urge to protect a child shielding Henry from George's troubled history
versus the necessity of teaching genuine trust and giving a teenager the freedom to make their own judgments.
And, crucially, to learn from their father's own difficult past.
The narrative resolves, for the moment, with a small detail that just reminds us of the immediate stakes. George messages Ed.
And he's really bored. The bloke in the next bed stinks.
And he simply can't wait to come home tomorrow.
That mundane complaint confirms the medical crisis is over. And for Will, that is the singular point of focus.
His only source of immediate, contained happiness hinges entirely on George walking back through that door.
And being safe under his protection.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to carry forward. Will stated he doesn't want to be happy. He believes his purpose is fulfilled by loving Nick and caring for his children. So we have to ask, if a person finds their entire identity in the role of perpetual caregiver or eternal protector against past loss, what is the ultimate cost of that fierce loyalty?
Right.
When Will says, "Reckon that's my lot in life, no point trying for more," is he demonstrating profound devotion, or is he simply cementing a profound limit on his own recovery?
Is he effectively sentencing himself to a life defined only by what he has already lost? It's a question of where devotion ends and where self-sabotage begins.
We hope this deep dive helped you connect the dots between the daily struggles and the underlying emotional currents that drive every complicated family dynamic.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the arches. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep. That's,
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
yep. That's the ball bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever